I'm gonna show you one energy shift that will make you more magnetic than ever. This was something that I applied just a couple years ago and it completely transformed my life. It's very simple, it's easy to apply. And when you apply it, you'll notice that not only is there more abundance coming in your life as far as like you having magnetic energy and people feeling that love off of you or feeling attracted to you, but also you'll notice that other opportunities come into your life. You'll notice that there's more abundance of money that comes into your life, and it all comes down to your own energy. So if you've been feeling blocked, if you've been feeling frustrated or needy with wanting and having those things in your life, this episode will shift it all for you, and we're gonna get into that right now. The one energy shift that I'm talking about in this episode has to do with abundance and understanding the vibration of abundance versus the vibration of scarcity. Now, think about this in regards to love. Now, if we feel like we're in scarcity, and maybe there's one person that we really like and we put them on a pedestal and we really hope that they'll give us the validation we want. We really hope they'll call us back or text us back, and we're waiting for them and we keep checking the Wi-Fi to see if our phone's maybe not connected to Wi-Fi because we're not getting the messages that we want to come in, and we're feeling frustrated. What we'll find is that we're then in a scarcity mindset. And because we're in a scarcity mindset, that is a needy energy that literally blocks people from coming into our lives. Whether it's just our own energy that's repelling them, or it's literally we can't perceive of them because underneath that there is a belief a lot of times that we're not worthy, or that why would a lot of people or somebody like me? And that keeps us in this little bubble of feeling lonely. The funny thing is that if we're experiencing that and we're in that needy energy, normally that stems from a feeling of abandonment growing up, and we're afraid of being abandoned. So what we do is we feel needy about it and we try everything we can to get other people's validation and approval. But this is the funny thing about that. The more you need someone else's validation and approval, the less you get it. The less you need someone's validation and approval, the more people just want to give it to you. Isn't that funny? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode, is shifting from a scarcity mindset into an abundance mindset. And not even mindset, but energy field. Because here's the other side of that coin. When you are in an abundant state, where let's say like, for example, back even just at the beginning of this year, something that happened is I was finally letting myself be in abundance when it comes to dating. Prior to that, I was kind of, I guess, still needy and still hung up on something from the past. And because of that, I literally could not perceive of people to date, or it was like I was just blocking it out. It was something I was blocking out, and there was a couple elements to this I'll talk about. But one thing that happened is right after I started opening myself up and I started dating and I started to be in abundance, it all came at once. Literally, there were 2 or 3 people that were kind of, I think I could have dated months ago, but I literally couldn't perceive of it. And all of a sudden, I had all these options. And it was because my energy shifted. And once I was in that abundant state, it was crazy how magnetic it made me. And I even remember this when I used to work in women's shoes back at Barney's, New York, and at Nordstrom's. There was this saying that once you opened a sale, because it was sales commission job, and we got paid based on a percentage of what we sold, but if you went in and you just kept helping customers and you weren't selling anything, that scarcity sometimes would build momentum and then you get frustrated about it. But if you went in and you had one good sale and you felt good about it, every customer you had after that would be a great sale. It'd be easy, it'd be effortless. It was crazy how much that momentum would carry over. But this really does work, and it comes from shifting out of the scarcity and into the abundance, because then when you're in the abundant state, your energy is magnetic. People feel that off of you. It's all energetics, by the way. Remember, people feel what you feel. So when we talk about having magnetic energy, it's being in an energetic state of abundance, and when you're in an energetic state of abundance, people feel that off of you, and that transmits value. If you're, like, I remember when I was dating and I was going on different dates and stuff, I felt an abundance, and it's like people could feel that on me. They could maybe feel that I had options, and that was more attractive. Not that I was being a player or anything, but I was like just dating. I was single and stuff like that. But that's something very interesting. This is all comes down to energetics. So with this, realize that abundance is attractive. Abundance is magnetic. And when you are in abundance, more and more comes into your life. I know especially when it comes to like what I do for a living with selling and creating online programs, even doing in-person live events. When I'm feeling in my most abundance, it's crazy the opportunities that come into my life. Things will just like click in immediately. And it's something that's just a complete reflection of that abundance state. Now, one of the things we want to realize about this too is that there's an energy state of detachment that comes when you're in abundance. If you are in scarcity, it's like you had your one option. This person that you like, this thing, it's like you put it on a pedestal and it was your one shot at love. It was your one shot at abundance or whatever. And that scarcity mindset keeps us in a limited state. Now, the key to this is understanding. There was this book I used to read. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. And I used to read this book just about every day. I'd go into that sales commission job for like months. And in it, there's something called a creative mindset. And then there's something called a competitive mindset. When I went into work selling women's shoes and I was competing with my coworkers, which in a way, it's like if somebody has a customer that buys a lot, it's like, oh, if I would have had that customer, they would have bought a lot for me too. And I wish I would have picked that customer up. That's more competitive though. That's scarcity. That's implying that there's only a limited number of customers to come in. And when you're in a creative mindset versus competitive, you'll notice that you're just always in the right place at the right time. The same thing with dating. If you're like, this was my one shot, I've lost it, but instead of a competitive mindset and competing with other people and trying to like, manipulate your way to get what you want, what if it was creative mindset where you then weren't putting this one person on a pedestal because you realize that there's such an abundance of people out there and that you trust the universe for you to be in the right place at the right time. Because what happens when we do this too is we step out of neediness. When we are in neediness, our energy is completely repelling. When we are in abundance, our energy draws in because abundance also is displaying value. It is determining or showing, it's expressing value. Now, one thing that we're doing, if you're watching this video, I'm going to make this go out within one of the last chances or the last chance to join the 21-day Magnetic Abundance Challenge. If you want an abundance of love, an abundance of money in 2022, we start on January 1st. I'm going to be going live 21 days in a row, bringing on experts in the realm of both abundance with money and abundance with love. Go ahead and click or go to aarondowdy.com/money. Today's the last day to join. You're going to get lifetime access to the whole 21 days. Plus, there's some really cool bonuses there as well. And this is a way of removing both love and money blocks, healing and feeling completely worthy and complete, and understanding that our reality is a complete reflection of that. So today is the day to join. If you haven't joined yet, we've had over 10,000 people join the past 21-day challenges, and they take on a life of their own. And you can read testimonials on that page below to see what's possible for you. So first off, let me just say that. Now, also, here's another thing when it comes to dating and relationships and the needy energy. I have a friend that I used to work with at Nordstrom's, and she was a good friend of mine for a long time. I haven't seen her recently or anything, but when we worked together, something interesting that she told me that always stuck with me. And it completely confirms and shows you how this energy works when it comes to magnetic energy. You ready? She would be single for a year. Single for an entire year. And she's attractive. She has very curvy body. Like there's a lot of people that would have been attracted to her, but for a whole entire year, she would be single. And what would happen is she would not get hit on. She said she wouldn't get hit on like one time in that whole year. And she said the craziest thing happens. Once she would then get in a relationship, which happened, she was dating somebody that I worked with, as also a good friend of mine. And all of a sudden, she's in the vibration of abundance and love because she has this loving relationship in her life. Within a week of being in this loving relationship, she will get hit on like 10 times. A whole year without getting hit on much at all. And then in 1 week of her being in that abundant state, it's like she gave herself permission to feel abundance and love. And then she'd get all these people, these men that would come up to her to hit on her. And she said it was like every time this would happen too. She said, anytime I get into a relationship within a week, I get like 10 people that come up to me. Like I can't keep them off of me. And I remember always remembering that because I was like, what is that? There's an energy dynamic there. What do you guys think the energy dynamic is? When you are in an abundant state and you are feeling inside of your body, this thing is here now, then it's putting out the energy of value and abundance, and people can feel that, and then they want to, it's like they're attracted to it. So kind of like what I was saying earlier, when I started opening up myself and I started dating, and I was in abundance, it was like there's more and more abundance. Same thing with this. She gets into that loving state and she has that, even though it's not maybe an abundance of dating, but it's like one person, she's in that loving vibration. Maybe she then feels worthy. Then guess what happened? All of a sudden, huge reflection of love in her life and just so many people coming up to her. Magnetic energy happens when you are in an abundant state. You're not in scarcity. You are feeling it from within. Now, one of the biggest things that you want to do to get into this energy state, by the way, is you want to let go of neediness. Neediness is the one thing that will repel things from coming into your life. Now, neediness is an energy that says, I need something from you. I need your validation. And a lot of times, people pleasers and nice guys, they are very needy. They have a very needy energy. And a lot of times as well, think about this. When you are in your own body, when you are in your own frame, and you are feeling also very embodied, you are feeling safe in your own body, you can then focus more on the separation because you're feeling safe. And when you do that, that creates magnetic energy. I know this sounds kind of paradoxical, but when you are expanding, you're literally, what needy and people pleaser and nice guys do is they project their energy out towards different people because there's something that they want. They want their validation, they want their love, they want their support. It's almost like they don't feel safe in their own body because growing up, they didn't learn growing up that they could feel safe inside their own body. And they had to tune to other people growing up in order to get their needs met. And that pattern is still active. So it's like they're looking for something on the outside to make them happy on the inside. Now, one thing that you want to become aware of with this, and the thing that changed everything for me, because for a long time I was that nice guy. And the challenge with that too is that nice guys aren't being themselves. They aren't being in their own, like there's not a lot of sexual polarity there. But when somebody gets inside their own frame, it's like they are then also leading. Think about that. It's like you're the star of your own movie. You don't need anything from other people. So what you want to do is become aware of that within yourself, that energy, and you want to bring the energy to feel safe inside of your own body so that then when you go out into the world, there is a different energy that happens with this. When I first learned this technique called the frame technique, I started to apply it in my life. It changed everything. It was, I started going to the grocery store. I started going out hiking. I learned it when I was in Sedona, and literally within hours of learning this, people were like, it was crazy the different response I got because I didn't need anything from everyone else. I was actually feeling the separation between me and other people, which in the spiritual community is like a no-no. It's like, no, we're all connected. But as the nice guy people pleaser thing, growing up, there was a certain level of getting our needs met that meant expanding the energy field out to tune to other people to make sure everything's okay because then I can feel safe. And if this person's validating me, I could take a little breath, you know? And the honesty of this is getting down to what that is, by the way. That needy energy and energy that repels there's a fear of abandonment there. Now, here's the crazy thing. The reason we are afraid of being abandoned is because somehow we felt abandoned growing up. We either felt emotionally abandoned or we felt physically abandoned with our parents or family members growing up. Now, what we've done in this process is we have abandoned ourselves. We've stopped being the real us because we're afraid if we are the real us, then we're going to get rejected. So we need other people's validation, and then we move our own center of gravity, and people can feel that. And remember, the more that you want someone else's approval and validation, the less you get it. Because want also means lack. So if, like my friend, if she wanted love, she was putting out a lack energy. When I wanted love and validation, I was lacking it, and therefore people feel that. But when I was in abundance, guess what? It just came. It couldn't come fast enough. It just kept coming. So the energy difference of this is becoming aware of your own abandonment wound and becoming aware of this one little idea. Become aware that this normally goes down to the parents, and this comes down to the core wound of when we were kids, and realize this. Your parents' divorce growing up had nothing to do with you. It's not your fault. And it's not something that, it's not because you weren't good enough. You couldn't glue everything together well enough. You weren't worthy enough. It has nothing to do with that. Abundance comes as a reflection of worthiness. And if there's shame and we believe we're broken or we feel worthless or unworthy, then guess what? It's hard to attract abundance of love or money into our lives because we feel lack of that. But the thing is realizing growing up, your parents' stuff was their stuff. It's not your fault. That was their stuff, not yours. And when you can begin to look at this from this perspective and change the meaning you give to your past, you then start to embody yourself in a different way now. Realize you have value for just being you. You being polarizing is okay. Polarizing is good. It's not only good in business, but it's good in sexual polarity. You know, when I'm in my own body, in my own frame, it's a different energy than when I'm like looking for something from other people. And people can feel that. So if you want to have magnetic energy, you want to get to the core of your abandonment wound if you have it. And most of us do at some level. One of the most common limiting beliefs people have is they believe that they're broken, they're not worthy, and there's shame there around that. But realize that you have value for simply being you, and you can let go of the needy energy by becoming aware of the core wound of the abandonment wound, and then you can make the choice. And first off, realize your parents were doing the best they could with where they were. Maybe there's an inner child inside of you that feels abandoned and hurt, and that's okay. But then you could start realizing that you no longer need to abandon your own inner child. You could tap within yourself and you can take that ownership and realize that it's not your fault, your parents' emotional unavailability, whatever, it's not your fault. And then what you do is you make the choice and you commit to you being the real you. You commit to you being authentic. Because also, let's look at magnetic energy from a point of value system. Now, a value system is something that Tony Robbins talks a lot about. Beliefs create reality, but beyond beliefs are values. They're like virtues we live by. So for example, the one that Tony talks about is he talks about certainty, uncertainty, significance. Then we talk about connection, contribution, growth. These are the 6 human needs that he says everyone needs at a certain level. Now the challenge happens is if you need certainty, that's one of the human needs so you can feel safe, but you've been doing the same job, working a 9-to-5 job you don't like, you might stay in that 9-to-5 job if you value certainty over maybe uncertainty or growth. You see, so we have a priority of these within ourselves. And there's other values too, but those are maybe like the 6 main ones. At least that's what Tony says. Now what happens is when you're a nice guy, a people pleaser, or feel needy, you value different things over different things. You value other people's thoughts about you over your own. You value other people's validation over your own. And because of that, you then change your own center of gravity, make other people happy. Now, one of the biggest changes I made to have magnetic energy that attracts both money and love is that of changing my values to where one of my top values is authenticity, even if it means being more polarizing, and vulnerability. Now, vulnerability is key. Vulnerability means you're willing to put yourself out there even if you get rejected. The abandonment wound would have never done that because the abandonment wound is afraid of rejection. But shame lives in the dark. Shame says, I'm broken. If you're willing to put yourself out there and to get rejected, then guess what? You're putting it out there, and not only is it like it's helping you release the shame, but also it's more attractive. What changed inside of me is when I was the nice guy, it's like I'm afraid to show my true intentions as a nice guy. That's what nice guys do, is they're afraid to show that they actually have like sexual drive. And therefore what they do is they're really nice to someone, they're being their friends, but they're not being authentic. They're not really expressing themselves. And they're kind of modifying who they are to the environment. When I became aware of this, I started being my real self and giving myself permission to be that. And as I did, I was more polarizing. And I was also more upfront with people, especially my girlfriend. When we first hung out, went on a date, I was very clear with my intentions. It's like, no, we're not just going to talk about spiritual concepts and all this stuff. I was like very clear. And she appreciated that. And I was also leading. I was leading, not afraid of that. And it was just a very different energy. And vulnerability is key, because then you're actually putting your true self out there. You're not afraid to show your true self. If you value vulnerability, it's like even like working in shoes. If I were to like be vulnerable and put myself out there to maybe greet certain types of customers and stuff, like maybe I'd hold myself back. It's like you're putting yourself out there more. It's like there's more abundance that comes. Even I've seen people have vulnerable talks with their boss. Listen, I've been working here a long time. I've been over-delivering, going the extra mile, and I think that I deserve a raise. What do I need to do? Like having a vulnerable conversation instead of holding it in passive-aggressively, you'll find that you feel so much more free and you feel so much more authentic. So vulnerability is also a key component of not only authenticity, but abundance. So now realize this about abundance. This is something that also changed my life when I learned it. Learned it from Bashar, I believe. This idea of lack and abundance. Now, what it is that in our reality, there's only abundance. There's only more. There's just an abundance of everything. There's abundance of trees, an abundance of, grass. There's like an abundance of everything, until humans come and chop that shit up and be destructive and shit. There's an abundance though. Now, that's the way nature works. That's the way abundance is. Now, lack, there really isn't lack in our reality. There's only more. There's only abundance. If we are experiencing lack, it is because we are experiencing an abundance of lack. Think of lack as a noun, as an actual thing. Now, what this does is realizing that if I'm experiencing lack, it's not because lack is the barometer of the universe. It's because I believe in lack, and therefore I'm getting more lack. I'm getting an abundance of lack. Now, what this did for me when I became aware of it is it put my attention on my own stuff, on my own belief system. And I realized that I had a lot of negative beliefs about abundance. I believed that the universe wasn't abundant. That's one of the first things you want to look at. Do you believe we live in an abundant universe or a hostile, negative, scarcity one? Because what you believe is going to be your reality. And once I shifted into the creative mindset versus the competitive mindset, I had a whole new level of abundance and magnetism. There's always more. Now, what you can realize is you can also focus on the scarcity and the lack that you might have in your life and realize that it might be there to show you that you're either focusing on it a lot, or maybe it's showing you your own sense of self-worth. Maybe you feel like you're not worthy. And I'll tell you, it's not true. It's just something you feel, and it's just something you believe. And you might believe it because you had reference experience of it growing up. You might have had someone that abused you or abandoned you, and realize that you can look at that and you can reframe it. Reframing is a magical ability we have in this reality, because everything in our life is fundamentally neutral except for the meanings that we give to things. So one thing you want to become aware of is maybe the meaning you gave. You believed you weren't worthy. And then you start looking at yourself in a new way, and you start seeing the beauty and the value just in you being you. And as you see that within yourself, other people feel that off of you. People feel what you feel. If you're really self-conscious about a freckle that you have, or how you look, or how you talk, your voice, if you're self-conscious about that stuff, a lot of people won't even notice it unless you feel it about yourself and you're judging yourself. All reality is a reflection. So what you can begin to do is begin to own it, begin to accept it, begin to feel into it and let it be there. And People feel what you feel. So what you want to do to be in abundance is you want to shift into an internal sense of abundance. And you do this by gratitude. That's one of the main ways. You focus on what you're already grateful for in your life. There's always abundance. Even if it's lack. They might have abundance of lack, but you could, if you can get really clear about what you're abundant for that you already have. You might have an abundance of food in your house or water to drink. Maybe you have an abundance of family members. Maybe you have an abundance of nature around you. The ability to go on a walk, to take a bath, to be present, like an abundance of silence. You see, as you focus on abundance, you begin to shift your energy. But also, as you begin to, I'd say that you being authentically you is also about you getting into your core of like what you're passionate about. And when you're doing what you're passionate about, you are more magnetic, just the way that it works. Magnetism is a reflection of you being the real you. So you being in that abundant state of your purpose is more magnetic than anything else. And think about it. When you're in that state, you're giving off what's called a surplus of energy. You're giving off excess energy. And as you're giving off excess energy, that's how money comes back to you. So the first thing that the main thing we can learn from what I'm sharing in today's video is that when it comes to abundance, realize that it's more about energy than it is the result. If you get into an abundant energetic state by focusing on what you already have, by being in your own frame, by valuing vulnerability and authenticity over validation, then your energy changes, and as a reflection, you get what you put out. If you're putting out that abundant energy, you will get and you will be more magnetic. You will get and have more people that have more love in your life. You will get and have more opportunities in your life, have more money in your life. And if you focus on the money, you're focusing on the side effect. You're focusing on the external instead of the internal. Everything changed for me when I started focusing on abundance. I started following my passion. Even now as I make videos, I only really make videos that I really want to make, and I wanted to make this video. And because of that, you could probably feel that level of passion within me. But what you want to do more than anything else is shift your inner abundance. And as you shift that, you'll notice that your whole entire life begins to transform in a powerful way. As you let go of the neediness and you realize that needy is repelling, you will then attract in things easier than ever. And if you want to learn, by the way, how to completely reframe that needy energy and why neediness leads to rejection and how to completely transform that on the inside out, the most powerful episode I've made is right here on how being nice leads to rejection, how you can completely transform that from the inside out. So watch that video. I promise you it'll change your life. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the cure to nice guys, nice girls, nice men, nice women, to being nice.